guys, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. It is your boy David, bringing you all of the latest transfer news that surrounds our great club, Tottenham Hotspur, keeping you up to date with players linked to a move to Tottenham Hotspur this summer, and also players linked with a move out of the exit door at Tottenham Hotspur this summer. And we all know we've got quite a few of them to shift out the door. And we are expecting a very, very busy summer transfer window under the new era of Ange Postecoglou, with some journalists reporting that up to 7 to 10 players could be expected to leave White Hart Lane this summer, with also another 7 to 10 expected to arrive. So we have a massive summer ahead of us. It's going to be absolutely busy with rumours flying left, right and centre. And I'm going to do my best for you guys to weave through them, see which ones I think are legit, which ones we might be actually being used by certain clubs or the agents, players and stuff like that to get a move elsewhere. So very, very busy. So if you want to keep up to date and be the most informed in the room, make sure you smash that notification button and it will alert you every time we go live. And also make sure you subscribe. As you can see, your boy is back from a week's holiday. I was down in Mayo on Achill Island with the Owl, chilling, vibing, relaxing, up to no good. Just enjoying the weather. As you can see, caught a bit of sun. I was very pasty white before I left. It's a good job I caught a bit of sun, because you wouldn't have seen me in the new Tottenham Hotspur kit. It was just as pale as me. But look, I have to say, I do like the areas with players that we are being linked in, i.e. goalkeeper, centre-back. They're areas that we really do need to improve if we want any sort of European football back here next season. So I have to say, the areas that we're being linked with, I do like. So let's get into the rumour mill today. And we will start with David Raya, of course, the Brentford goalkeeper. And according to Dom Smith of the Evening Standard and also Football London earlier on today as well, that Tottenham and Manchester United are set to walk away from a deal for David Raya if Brentford do not lower their 40 million asking price. Now, of course, the reason why we are in the market for a new number one this season is because Hugo Lloris quit on us at halftime in that 6-1 humiliation at Newcastle, off the back of making a lot of high-profile errors last season and also losing his spot to number 2 Fraser Forster, which is never good. So that does put us in the market for a new number one. However, David Raya, 40 million for a player whose agent has already come out 1 month ago and said that his player has no intention of renewing or even entering negotiations for a new contract at Brentford, and he does want to leave, and he will leave on a free next summer if they do not sort out an exit for him this summer. So for me, 40 million is a bit steep, considering every club know that this guy will be leaving either now or next summer. So Brentford might have to come down in that valuation, especially after also signing his replacement, that goalkeeper from Freiburg that they signed recently. So they already have his replacement in there. However, what I will say to Brentford's credit is that they're not a club that they'll drop their valuation of what they deem fit for their player. As we know, when we pursued Ollie Watkins a couple of seasons back, we were willing to pay about 25 million, but they said not less than 30 or 35 million. They end up getting 33 million at Aston Villa for Ollie Watkins. So they will hold their ground on this. But look, Brentford, they will have to cash in at some stage this summer, in my opinion. I'm not sure that many clubs will actually meet that 40 million valuation. So I do think they might have to come down slightly. However, what I will say is, I know Man United are interested, but they could very easily just go into next season with David Raya. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. They just want David Raya because it'll help Ten Hag out a bit more, because he's very, very good with his feet combined with his shot-stopping ability. But at Tottenham, it's urgent we get in a number one. And the last thing we want to do is enter a bidding war. So if he is the guy that we have identified to be our new number one for at least 4 or 5 seasons, then at some stage you have to go and pay that money. And sometimes it's better off paying it early and getting it over and done with, negotiations sealed and everything else, so that you don't give other clubs a chance to come in. And we know that some of the clubs that are being linked with this guy, because this David Raya has been linked with a top 6 move for quite some time. Arsenal were interested before they brought in Ramsdale, and when Brentford were down in the Championship at the time, and they refused to sell. So this guy will get a big 6 move, and a lot of the teams up there now can offer European football, which is something we cannot offer. So, it might be one where Tottenham might have to stump up to 40 million. However, I do think it will be a bit of a cat and a mouse game all summer between us and Brentford. And I do feel like this will rumble on for quite some time. Now, 40 million is a very, very big fee. And for me, for 40 million, that opens up a number of targets. A lot of very, very good goalkeepers for us. We've been linked. I really like Bazunu. We've been linked with Kelleher this season, Meslier, Mamardashvili at Valencia, and Bono from Sevilla in recent days. So it does look like that Tottenham do have other alternatives on their list. And you would be able to get them for 40 million as well. I just think 40 million is a bit steep for David Raya with 1 year left on his contract and just no desire to re-sign whatsoever. So I think Spurs are probably holding out for Brentford to come down on that fee a little. Will Brentford do it? I'm not so sure. But like I said with Ollie Watkins, they absolutely refused. Now, I know many Spurs fans, they really like Ray, and they, because of his ability to play with the ball at his feet, combined with his shot-stopping ability. So it'd be very interesting to know from you guys down in the comment section, would you sanction a 40 million move for David Raya, knowing that he's 1 year left in his contract and he doesn't want to re-sign, or would you look elsewhere for that price range? So please do let me know down in the comments. Now, we will move on to a player that has caused a lot of division over the course of this season and on social media since this story has broke, and that is Clement Lenglet. And the rumours are Tottenham and FC Barcelona will meet next week to try and finalise a deal for Clement Lenglet, and that Spurs could sign him for just as little as £6 million because they would be saving Barca around 30 million in wages, and that's according to Spanish football publication Diario Sport. Now, Barcelona, of course, as it says there, they have to reduce their wage bill, especially if they want to sort of, regenerate their squad and go again, get rid of like Sergio Busquets and stuff like that, and get players in the door. They do have to reduce that wage bill. And of course, we had him on loan last season. So when it comes to Clement Lenglet, we know exactly what sort of player we are going to get and the character of the player as well. And like I said, I've seen many mixed reactions across social media, so I'll be very interested to see where people are at in the comment section. So again, get in the comment section and let me know on Clement Lenglet. So just hear me out on this. For me, I actually like him. I think he's a very reliable defender who quietly goes about his business. And for me, he's so much more comfortable on the ball and better defensively than Davies, Dyer, Sanchez, even Tanganga. And that was proven last season. And to play Ange ball, we need players across that back line who are very comfortable on the ball, who can complete passes out from the back on a regular basis and actually handle themselves defensively. And Lenglet has proven last season that he can do that. Now, I get that he has the odd mistake in him, but for me, every defender, even the top defenders, have at least 2 or 3 in them every single season. And I also take concerns that he could get exposed because he lacks recovery pace, and that isn't an asset you would prefer your defender to have in a team that does play a high defensive line. But the plan is to be a possession-based team. So that then limits the amount of times the opposition can actually expose or exploit that defensive weakness of his, which for me is actually his only weakness. So if we become a team that's much better on the ball and looks to control possession, you're not going to be asking them to go that way every single time or as much as we were last season, which means that weakness will be exposed less and less. So for me, I think it's an absolute no-brainer for 6 million. And I know some people will say, oh, Dave, what you just said there about being in a possession-based team and limit his mistakes, you could apply that to a Dyer, a Sanchez, or a Davies. But look, it does not, because half of their problem, if we're being brutally honest, is they play themselves into trouble because of how erratic they are in possession. It takes them 2 or 3 touches to get the ball under control, only to move it 5 yards. And if they try to pass it beyond 5 yards, they often give it away. And Lenglet has proven again last season that he's our biggest. He was a huge asset in terms of how composed he was on the ball. So for me, again, he's an upgrade on them in that area. Now, Lenglet was also a player full of low on confidence coming into Tottenham, and he was our second best defender over the course of the season. And for me, I think there's more room to scope, and I think he'll come back an even more confident player after having that season under his belt. Plus, with the confidence that Ange Postecoglou will instill in this guy, I think you'll get an even better player this year. And so for me, again, I think it's a no-brainer. And I also say to people, let's be rational here for a minute. Take your anger out of it about the board, about what we've seen last season on the football pitch, etc. And just ask yourselves, Is Lenglet an upgrade on our current options? Tanganga, Dyer, Davies, Sanchez, and Romero. And as proven last season, yes, he is, bar Romero. Now, would we find another backup or another player at 6 million that is a dramatic improvement over 90% of our centre backs? No, we would not. So for me, again, it's an absolute no-brainer. However, I will be disappointed if he is the only centre-back to arrive at Tottenham this summer. And I strongly do urge Tottenham Hotspur to bring in at least another one, if not two centre-backs, alongside Lenglet. Now, for me, this is where we can be a bit clever. You know, you bring this guy in for 6 million. It's a very small outlay, and it does allow us to go after another centre-back and start making some actual inroads into improving the strength in depth at centre-back and eliminate the mistakes that our defence, showed last season, and allow us to move on and, at least get two of Dyer, Sanchez, Tanganga, and Davies out, which for me makes sense, and I can't stress enough that it does need to be done. Because we've seen with these guys before, they've cost us European football, and they also cost us every single cup competition we enter, and that can no longer continue. So if people are outraged that they think this guy is the only guy coming in, I can understand that, because you're not really improving the situation. However, if it's only him coming in for 6 million, and we still are looking to bring in another one or two, which further leads suggest we will not be stopping at Lenglet. For me, I think it's very, very shrewd business, and it shows that there is actually a bit of intent there to properly overhaul that backline, so that even if we do get injuries or suspensions, which happen during the season, you have someone like Lenglet to step in, who's technically much more better than what we've currently got there, rather than a Dyer, a Sanchez, or a Davies who just play us into trouble and make everyone else nervous around them, which leads to mistakes, which leads to us sitting back and being absolutely peppered. So for me, 6 million, it's an absolute bargain. Get Lenglet in, plus another one or two, and show Dyer and Sanchez and Davies the exit door. And for me, it's something we should have done 5 years ago. And it will, like I said, it will signal to fans that there is at least some intent to drastically rebuild this squad and rebuild it very, very quickly. So for me, 6 million, I would 100% take him. I don't think he's as bad as maybe some are letting on. But again, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. Now, we'll move on to another player that has been linked with a move out of Roma and on his way to Tottenham is Roger Ibanez. Of course, the Brazilian centre-back, he's only 24 years of age. However, he is half Uruguayan as well, but he has already represented Brazil in friendlies. And according to Italian outlet Gazzetta dello Sport, Tottenham Hotspur are leading the race to sign talented central defender Roger Ibanez from Syria outfit Roma. The report also goes on to say Roma have to balance their financial books and adhere to the financial fair play regulations, and they will have to part ways with some of their valuable assets, and Ibanez could be that person. I believe it also says in the report that they believe initially they were looking to offload striker Tammy Abraham, but his recent injury has complicated matters, leading them to consider other alternatives. Because Tammy Abraham has sort of been ruled out now. Now, the interest in Ibanez is not just strictly Tottenham. There are a host of clubs all over Europe who have expressed their desire to secure his services. However, Tottenham Hotspur appear to be leading the race, positioning themselves as prime destination for Ibanez. The Italian outlet also mentioned that Roma value Ibanez within the price range of 35 to 40 million. I was listening to Shawnee earlier on. He was saying that he believes there was a 70 million buyout clause, but they're willing to sort of halve that to offload him to stick to financial fair play. And the fact that Roma need to sell one of their prized assets should put very little stumbling blocks in Tottenham's way of negotiating a deal. Where this deal could become very, very complicated is if other teams who want this guy, like I said, he is very highly regarded around Europe, they could end up starting a bidding war, which could very well break out. Which will put Tottenham out of that running, because as we know, we will not enter into bidding wars for players. Now, Ibanez is a player that Mourinho really likes. He's come out and he has said of him in recent times that he always shows up. Even if maybe he's carrying an injury, he will show up. Now, Ibanez has been tipped to become one of the world's best But those who know a little bit about him, he has severe lapses in concentration and has made a few high-profile errors at Roma this season that has led to goals, and that will certainly need to be improved on if he does come to Spurs, because we have so many defenders who already have lapses in concentration. And in the Premier League, we see how deadly it can be, i.e. Dyer and Sanchez, especially. Now, by no means is Ibanez the finished article whatsoever. There is improvement, but according to FBref, Ibanez is in the top 3% of defenders in Europe's top 5 leagues for interceptions and in the 82nd percentile for tackles. And when you, for those who have watched this guy, his all-round game is actually pretty good. From what I remember, the guy is strong, tall, good in the air. He's got good recovery pace, decent on the ball as well. So it's exactly what we need, a good all-rounder. However, like I said, the concentration levels is what is holding him back, and that is something that will need to be improved upon. And there will also be an adaptation to the Premier League, especially in Andrew's set up the high defensive line. He's played at the likes of Roma under Jose Mourinho and Atlanta. So there will be different things asked of him, more so playing a bit higher up the pitch, but also leaving a lot more space in behind him for oppositions to attack. So there will be that sort of adaptation period. However, he does have all the attributes to absolutely fit in and play in that high line. So it'll be very interesting to see, again, if Tottenham can get ahead of the curve on this one and get that deal done early. Now we'll move on to another player, and that is Victor Nelsson. Tottenham have offered, according to Turkish media outlet Hurriyet, Tottenham have offered 22 million for the Danish defender Victor Nelsson. Galatasaray are adamant they will not sell him less for 25 million. We're at it again, aren't we? This seems to happen every single summer to Tottenham, that we're a little bit away from the valuation, usually about 4 or 5 million. It drags on and on and on. Now, what I will say with Nelsson, he was an important part of Galatasaray's title-winning defence, having made 35 appearances in all competitions, helping Galatasaray lift their first Turkish championship since 2019 after signing from Copenhagen. Arsenal are also reportedly interested, along with a host of Italian clubs as well. Now, admittedly, I actually don't know a lot about Nelsson. I know some of you out there will be surprised because I do know a lot about a lot of players, but I have spoke to Sean from Spurs Talk Show on this guy, and Sean is a huge fan, especially with how good he is on the ball and his range of passing. You'll often hear Sean mention that that's his biggest asset. Maybe he could offer something a bit like Toby Alderweireld offered at Tottenham with that passing range of his. But Sean did have maybe slight concerns over maybe some of his rashness, the timings of his tackle, and would he suit a partnership with Romero? For me, I think you could play the two of them together, just get someone who wants to work on them and maybe work on their timing of the tackles. However, will they be as rash if they learn to trust each other? I don't think so. So people in the comments who do know a lot more about Victor Nelsson than I do, please educate me on this guy and let me know whether or not he will improve Tottenham's backline and what he will add, as I don't know much about the Turkish league. I don't watch it, and I'm not an expert on this guy, nor will I pretend to be. So I'm relying on you guys in the comments for this one. I will add that Nelsson is contracted to Galatasaray until 2026. So it does put Galatasaray in the driving seat in negotiations, and they can more or less demand exactly what they want. So it would be interesting to see if Tottenham will match what Galatasaray are looking for. And if rumours are to believe that it is only 3 million away in valuation, as we've seen before, this could not rumble on for a number of weeks, as Levy likes to sort of insert clauses to make up that few million, and it's whether the selling team will accept that or not. So maybe another one to keep an eye on here. But guys, please do let me know in the comments your thoughts on Victor Nelsson. And then we will move on to Sofiane Amrabat. And according to French outlet Foot Mercato, Tottenham Hotspur looking to beat Barcelona Bayern Munich to sign the talented Sofiane Amrabat this summer. Now, if you remember back to when the January transfer window under Conte, when we brought in Bentancur and Kulusevski, we had this guy on ice and we ended up taking Bentancur instead over Sofran Amrabat. And a lot of Spurs fans at the time were absolutely raging with the link, saying he wasn't good enough. But since then, people have seen a lot of him, and he's really sort of highly regarded around Europe, especially off the back of that World Cup where he helped Morocco get to the semi-finals. For me, I really like what I see of this guy. But let me know in the comments, have you maybe changed your opinion on this guy from what you've seen since them rumours? For me, he's very, very industrious in the midfield. He breaks up a lot of opposition play and gets through an incredible amount of work. I mean, you can see him the other day, one of the West Ham players was like, he held on to him and started chasing him on his knees just to get the ball. That's how much he absolutely loves it. And for me, he would fit right into an Ange Postecoglou midfield, offering great protection for that back line, defensively solid, can play a little, but breaks up a lot of play. Very industrious, and Ange likes hard-working people. That's what his whole ethos is based around. And Sofran Amrabat definitely echoes that for sure. So it'll be a very, very good signing, and one that we would need if we want to compete with top teams. You need that world-class sort of holding midfielder, defensive midfielder, and this guy is very, very good. What I will say, though, is that Barcelona also have long-term interest in this guy, and they are looking to replace Sergio Busquets, who has done that role at Barcelona for well over a decade now. They've been long-term interest in this guy, and they are looking to sort of shift out players so that they can get this guy in. Now, interestingly, should Spurs hang off on someone like Lenglet and go for Sofran Amrabat, knowing that Barcelona can't really operate until they offload wages and stuff like that, or else they'll put themselves in another situation again, like they were in before, where they're bringing in players to sign them on contracts, but then without actually offloading the right amount of players. And I'm not sure they'll want to get themselves into that situation again. So do we hang off on Lenglet so that we can pursue Sofran Amrabat and maybe get a leg up on Barcelona? But we have to act very, very quick if we want to get someone like Sofran Amrabat in here, because the likes of Barcelona, especially, who are very interested. Bayern Munich, I'm not 100% sure that's of real interest. It could be, but, they've got like the likes of Goretzka. Kimmich can also play in there. They've got some very, very good midfielders to choose from. I know they've got Ryan Gravenberch as well, and he probably wants out, but they've got a lot of midfielders there. So I think Barcelona would be the one we'd actually be competing with, and they can offer him Champions League football. So that automatically makes them a more attractive destination because of that, but also because of the prestige of Barcelona. But look, this is a guy that will be moving. He's only got 1 year left on his contract. Now, I know he has an option to extend it by a further year if he wants. However, I don't see that happening, because this is a guy, he's 26. He's in his prime. The interest in him is higher than ever before off the back of a very good World Cup and a very good season with Fiorentina and a very good showing in the Europa Conference League final as well, where I actually thought on the night he outshone Declan Rice in that sort of role. So for me, he's one that will be on the move this summer. It's just how quickly will Tottenham act, and will they mess Fiorentina around, or just act like a big club, go in with the asking price and get the contract signed and delivered before any other team can sort of get in there and offer what we can. So that is Sofran Amrabat, everybody. And then we'll go on to players out. And that is some of the latest on the big Harry Kane. Man United are increasingly resigned to the fact that they will not be able to sign Harry Kane this summer, and that is according to Gary Jacob of the Times Sport. Look, we all know that United need a striker and that they need to improve. Fake horse is nowhere near good enough. However, it just does not make sense that Tottenham sell Harry Kane to Man United this summer. They're a team that are already inside the top four, a team that we need to hunt down for top four. You sell them Harry Kane, that's them top four secure for the next 4 or 5 years, which then limits it to 2 places. And so for me, not very, very smart move by Tottenham or Daniel Levy if they were allowed that to happen. So if I'm reading between the lines, he definitely will not be allowed to go to Man United this summer. Although it probably would suit Harry Kane because he does want that Alan Shearer record. So that probably only leaves someone like Real Madrid. So let's look at that. Let's see what happens this summer. It's going to be a long, drawn-out saga. I have no doubt about it. It would be nice if we could get Harry Kane to commit his future and just sort of get rid of all this uncertainty around him. Hopefully Big Ange can get back from holiday, show him a bit of love, and persuade him to stay. Because for me, he's definitely a player that he's going to want to work with for sure, so we can stop them silly debates. Is Kane like, does Ange Postecoglou want to work with Kane and Son? Of course he does. What manager wouldn't? What manager in the right mind would not want to come in and work with Tottenham's two best players? It's just about whether they'll be committed or not, whether they want to go through all that hard work, whether they want to start pressing. Ange Postecoglou might ask Kane to play a bit more of a deeper role and allow Richarlison to play up front. Will that suit Harry Kane? But for me, the only move out of here is Real Madrid. He will not be going to United this summer. So any United fans sitting there waiting in the wings, sorry to dash your dreams. Go and cry to mummy because it ain't happening this summer. You're going to have to wait till next season if that is going to happen. But it just does not make sense that we strengthen our rivals and just basically gift them top four for the next 4 or 5 years. It's absolutely mindless. So I don't see that happening. And in fairness, I know people might not like this, but Daniel Levy did refuse to sell Gareth Bale to Man United. He also refused to sell Modric to Chelsea, and they both ended up at Real Madrid as well. So I do not see him selling Harry Kane to one of our rivals, especially if we refused to sell him to City a couple of seasons ago. And just quickly, celebrating his 18th birthday in style this weekend, Rio Kirimaten, of course, had a great performance in the Under-17 Cup final. He did score a late equaliser for England Under-18s yesterday as the Young Lions went to draw 2-2 against Norway. So young Rio, happy birthday to you, my man. No better way to celebrate it. But look, guys, we are out. We are done here. That's all of your transfer news today. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on some of the players that have been linked with a move to Tottenham. But also, like I said, make sure you smash a like if you have enjoyed the stream. Feel free to send in a super thanks if you have enjoyed it. Get your comments in because we are in a good routine of responding to every single one of them and opening a lot more dialogue with you in the comment section as well. So don't be afraid to get them in. But make sure you smash that notification bell so that you'll be alerted all summer long of what Tottenham are up to in the summer transfer window. So, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. As always, come on, you Spurs. In Ange Postecoglou, we trust. Everywhere we go.